It is Monday, June 15th, 2020. I'm Pastor Thor Ramsey, and this is Gospel for Five, where we take 5 minutes out of our day and focus on the gospel and the one who saved our souls. This is the last week we're going to be focusing on the Psalms. Next week we'll begin a new emphasis, really revisiting and re-emphasizing things that we went over in a series we did quite a while ago called Sons and Daughters, which was a series on our position as sons and daughters, as children of God. And so I think it's a good, I know that series received a lot of positive response because it just has a lot of great reminders about our about our actual relationship with God now because of Jesus Christ. So we'll be starting that next week, just to let those of you know who are regulars. So this week, as we wrap up our emphasis on Psalms, we're going to focus all this week on Psalms of love. And I did this for personal reasons, to be honest. Man, I don't know how your days go, but I can kind of maintain about 2 hours of kind of an upbeat, positive attitude, and then just everything. There's just so much in the world, the flesh and the devil, that just beats against us and just beats us down, and we can become really discouraged really quickly. At least I can. Maybe you have a more upbeat personality. I tend not to be upbeat naturally. I'm a little more melancholy in my personality. So I figure if you're like me, and even if you're not, it's always good to be reminded of God's love in the gospel of His Son, Jesus Christ. So that's what we're going to emphasize this week. So we're going to begin here with Psalm 77, which begins its beginning is very depressing. It's very despondent. The psalmist is very despondent in the beginning. Asaph, I believe, is how it's pronounced. The psalmist's name is pronounced, and it begins, I cry out to God, yes, I shout, oh, that God would listen to me. When I was in deep trouble, I searched for the Lord. All night long I prayed with hands lifted toward heaven, but my soul was not comforted. Now that's desperation, that's depression, that's despondency. I'm doing a lot of synonyms here apparently, but here's someone moaning, crying out to God, overwhelmed, finding no comfort. You ever been there? That's where this person was. He doesn't sleep. I'm too distressed even to pray. There's another aspect of life. We're too depressed. We're too depressed to pray sometimes. I search my soul and ponder the difference now. Going, what's changed in my life? We begin to search ourselves. We begin kind of sometimes a morbid introspection. Has the Lord rejected me forever? Will He never again be kind to me? Here's the psalmist in a position emotionally, they're questioning God's kindness. And I think we do this on a daily basis. We really question God's kindness toward us because of circumstances, because of our emotional state, because of, our mental emotional state. They're both connected. Is His unfailing love gone forever? Have His promises permanently failed? Has God forgotten to be gracious? Has He slammed the door on His compassion? All things we'll be looking at this week here. His unfailing love, His promises, God's grace, God's compassion. And the psalmist is asking, and these are really rhetorical questions in a sense, because is His unfailing love gone forever? Well, that's a rhetorical question, because His love would not be unfailing. It would not be unchanging. It would not be infinite if it could fail. And that's the whole point right here. So it switches course. Now, where does the psalmist switch course? And that's why we're focusing this week on these psalms that emphasize God's love in the gospel of His Son. In verse 11, he says, "But then I recall all you have done, O Lord. I remember your wonderful deeds of long ago. They are constantly in my thoughts. I cannot stop thinking about your mighty works. And there is really the remedy for our depressed souls. We need to remind ourselves of God's love for us displayed in the gospel of Jesus Christ. So it tells us his love is infinite. It's unfailing. He who did not spare his own son, how will he not also along with him graciously give us all things? Again, finding the verse in your life that really reminds you of the love of God, how constant it is for you, that his grace is infinite, that his promises always come through, that he is always gracious. He has not forgotten to be gracious just because our circumstances don't seem to warrant us believing God is gracious, as the psalmist did in the beginning of this. But then he reminds himself, here's what God has done in the past, and God is not changing. So his unfailing love has not gone forever. It has not failed. God's love never fails. It is constant toward us. He will see us through. Now, what has God said to you today? And what are you going to do about it?